Hey everyone, it's Hinman here with another competitive deck tech. This is a video series where I highlight Eternal decks that are well suited for tournaments or high-level ranked play. In these videos, I'll give you an overview of the general game plan, discuss each card's role in that plan, and mention possible changes that you could try out based on your own personal tastes. This deck tech is current as of January 2018, with Dusk Road being the most recent set. Let's get to it. So today we've got Praxis Nightmare. It's a fire and time aggro deck that utilizes the powerful Nightfall mechanic from the most recent set, Dusk Road. Like most aggressive decks, this deck tries to play many early units, attack the opponent to pressure their life total early, and then finish them off with burn spells like Obliterate or Torch. So let's just jump right into the list. First off, we got our 1-drops, the bread and butter of our deck. You can see we have an absurd amount of 1-drops. We have 20 cards in the deck, which cost only 1 power. 16 of them are creatures, 4 of Gloaming Wisp, Grenadin Drone, Initiative Sands, Ticking Grenadin. So Grenadin Drone really needs no introduction. He's a staple in many aggressive decks, but the other 3 I think deserve a little bit of discussion. So Initiative Sands is great. It used to be extremely popular. It's fallen slightly out of favor due to the Vara's Favor being a very popularly played card. Unfortunately, Vara's Favor is always going to be quite good against our deck, because we run so many 1-ofs, so its downside is not that big of a downside compared to the opportunity cost of Vara's Favor hitting something else in our deck. On the flip side, if they don't answer Initiative Sands right away, our deck starts to go real crazy real fast. We can go turn 1 Initiative Sands into turn 2 Assembly Line into turn 3 Xenan Obelisk, and oh my gosh, they're going to be dead real quick. Or alternatively, you can just play Initiative Sands, and then on turn 2, you probably have another 1-drop in your hand. You can go Initiative Sands into a 2-drop, in another 1-drop, and just flood the board real early. Ticking Grenadin, on the other hand, is part of our burn package, along with Disassembler, Torch, Obliterate, as just ways to finish off the game once you've lost board control. They allow for some direct damage, even through stuff like Harsh Rule or Lightning Storm, which really wreck your day. But by adding extra damage directly onto the opponent, you can close out the game even after they've wiped out your board. So Gloaming Wisp, along with Nocturnal Creeper, really help to pull the whole deck together with the powerful Nightfall mechanic. So Nightfall is a mechanic that when you play that summon Nightfall, for the next turn cycle, meaning your opponent's turn and then your next turn, both players will draw an extra card at the beginning of the turn, but also take 1 extra damage. So what that means is that by playing this, you just straight up deal 1 damage to the opponent, and then you draw an extra card. Your opponent gets to draw an extra card too, but since we're an aggressive deck that runs so many low-cost cards, so many 1s and 2s, we are more likely to be able to play that card right away and get immediate value from it, whereas a mid-range or control deck may be drawing a 5 or 6 cost card or an extra piece of power that they can't really deploy right away. So we're going to be able to dump our hand real quick, refill it with Nightfall, and then get all the value out of those cards we just drew. Additionally, it helps to push extra damage because every last point matters here. This is absolutely a deck of inches. Getting that 1 extra point in could be life and death. So let's move on to the 2-drops. Or sorry, I actually missed Torch. Torch is... I shouldn't even need to mention it. It's a staple card in red. If you're playing fire, you're playing for Torch. End of story. Next question. Four Disassemblers, 4 Nocturnal Creepers, 4 Spark Catchers. That is our 2-drop spot. So Disassembler kind of goes hand in hand with Ticking Grenadin, and it provides extra reach. Whenever they are wiping our board out, well, they're going to take some extra damage from a Disassembler. Nocturnal Creeper we touched on with Gloaming Wisp, same concept. It's the next cheapest Nightfall creature. Also, Deadly allows it to attack through larger blockers such as Sandstorm Titan or other 3 toughness creatures. Sparkcatcher is a Grenadin, so it triggers Disassembler, but it's also 2 bodies in 1. So even if they use a removal spell on it, or it gets caught up in a Lightning Storm or a Harsh Rule, we still will have an extra body laying around for cards like Rally or Xenan Obelisk. So our 3-drops are Assembly Line and Rally. So Rally's not really a 3-drop, but our 3 cost cards. Assembly Line is exactly what you want to be doing with Grenadin Drone. With Sparkcatcher, you just want to make a lot of Grenadins, make a lot of guys to benefit from Xenan Obelisk and Rally. It's the whole point of the deck. So Assembly Line fits perfectly. I'll touch more about Rally, but suffice to say right now, it's the best card in the deck. I'll come back to it, don't worry. So Marisen's Disciple makes multiple guys for a single card. Same argument as Assembly Line Grenadin Drone. It's exactly what we want to be doing. Praxis Displacer is a bit of a meta call. This is definitely one of the flex spots. If you don't play Praxis Displacer, I could totally understand. It's very good against mid-range and aggro decks, where you can bounce their 4 or 5 cost card, bounce their Sandstorm Titan or their Impending Doom or their Tavrod or what have you. It really gets you tempo back, it puts another body on the board, it lets you attack without them having a blocker. It does a lot of things against those types of decks, but it doesn't do quite as much against the control decks, the decks that run Harsh Rule or Lightning Storm. So if you're running into a lot of decks where Praxis Displacer is not good, absolutely feel free to cut it for something else. Xenan Obelisk, a staple of the deck, one of the main payoffs for flooding the board with so many low-cost 1/1s and 2/2s. Or 2/1s, rather. Obliterate is another flex card just like Praxis Displacer. You can feel free to cut it, change it out for other things depending on what you're seeing. I found that Obliterate is really helpful in clearing blockers and also helping to push damage. Like I said, every point in this deck matters. So if you're obliterating a 3 toughness blocker and then pushing some extra damage, now you get an extra attack in, every point counts. So the overwhelm is very important. However, with the rise of a lot of sabotages and protects and Tavrods with 7 toughness, this can fall somewhat out of favor. If you're looking for something to replace these cards with, you might consider, say, more Marisen's Disciples, or if you're looking for more impactful cards, you might look at Soulfire Drake or Arcanum Monitor. Our power base is nothing too special, just sigils, banners and seats, pretty standard, and then Granite Waystone. Obviously, Granite Waystone is kind of just a strictly better fire sigil and can occasionally help you make some extra Grenadins to flood the board. So I want to talk more about my favorite card in the deck, Rally. So this card does everything in this deck. It's a removal spell in the sense that you can attack with your 1/1s and then trade up into their guys if they block with a 3/3 or something. There's a lot of popular 3 health units out there, such as Unseen Commando, Valkyrie Enforcer, Argentport Instigator. So Rally helps your 1/1s trade into those, while also pushing damage with the 1/1s that they don't block. Or you can also just use it as a straight up burn spell. Pay 3, deal 6 or 8 or more, depending on how many creatures you have out in the mid game. If the board gets really stalled, having a Rally is a surefire way to win. If you have a bunch of guys, you attack with them all, they make a couple blocks, but everybody who gets through hits for at least 3 and possibly more. I really think this card is like the linchpin of the deck. I always want to have one in my hand. I often want to have 2. For that reason, some of the other considerations that I've tried out have been Synchronized Strike, which is a 2-cost fast spell in time that gives all of your units +1/+1 this turn. That's a possibility if you're looking to replace, say, Obliterate for another 2 Synchronized Strike. The other creatures I've considered, I'll bring them up here, are Noble Firemane has been a consideration to swap out for the Disassembler Ticking Grenadin package. So Ticking Grenadin and Disassembler are best against decks that run a lot of board sweeps, Lightning Storm, Harsh Rule, and the like, so that even when they wipe your board, you're still pushing extra damage. Noble Firemane, on the other hand, is better against decks that don't run board sweeps, as he gives you a way to spend your mana in the mid game, while still pushing through damage in the early game, just like Disassembler. If you do make that swap, it's often best to swap out Ticking Grenadin for Pyro Knight for the same kind of concept, where Pyro Knight is an early drop that can attack well, but then also as a way to spend your power in the late game. Once you get to 6, you can obviously make it into a 6/5 with Overwhelm, and it helps to avoid flooding out. Speaking of flooding out, I didn't mention it before, but Xenan Obelisk is a good way to ensure that if you do get flooded, at least you get something valuable out of it. By when you get up to 8 power, which you hopefully don't get to, but if you do, just due to the nature of how many sigils you draw, Xenan Obelisk can provide you with a little bit of late game power as well. Other card that I mentioned was Soulfire Drake. This card is it fills a similar role as Obliterate, and that's a 5 cost. The triple fire requirement can sometimes be a problem, so that's my only hesitation on this. That's the same hesitation I have with Arcanum Monitor. Arcanum. Oh, wait, Arcanum. Sorry. It's not a really common English word. So Arcanum Monitor has a difficult influence requirement, but he fulfills the same role as Xenan Obelisk, but he's also a huge beater in his own right. Once again, my one problem with this is kind of the same that I have with Fire Main Lion, in that you have to overcommit to the board in order to get value out of him, which opens you up to board wipe spells such as Harsh Rule. So that's about all for this deck tech. I really recommend this deck for ladder right now. I think it's a great deck. Not a lot of decks are expecting a deck this fast, that can go this wide, that has this much reach in terms of burn, like Ticking Grenadin Disassembler and the like. And another great part about the deck is that it's super budget. There are, as in this current list, there are, 8 rares, 0 legendaries, and I don't even think there's too many legendaries that would be good. Only maybe Soulfire Drake, but Obliterate is a perfectly viable substitute if you don't have them. You really don't need legendaries to compete with this deck. Not at all. So I hope you enjoyed it. The importable list and Eternal Warcry link is in the description below. There'll be some gameplay videos of this coming out right after this. And you can also check out my stream to watch me play this and other awesome decks at twitch.tv/tinman354. Link is in the description below. And hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.